food, and we have some food here this morning on our set. What are we cooking?
We definitely do. A Southern favorite, Lucy Greer is here. It is a Wednesday. We always have Lucy on. Lucy, great to have you.
Thank you.
Do you have the Kim Kardashian app?
Not yet. I might have to get it. Cherish was pretty convincing with it.
Very convincing with how great that works. Hey, you're going to do some great stuff in the kitchen. Tell us about this tomato pie.
We are going to make this tomato pie today. We're going to start off with the crust. It's going to be an easy crust that we're going to put together in our food processor, and we're going to caramelize some onions, and it's pretty quick when you have everything ready. It'll come together pretty fast. So what we're going to do is just start off with a couple of teaspoons of olive oil in this pan, and we'll get our onions sauteing while we make our crust. So you're just going to cook these onions. I just sliced one Vidalia onion into kind of thin slices. I'm going to add half a teaspoon of sugar and a quarter teaspoon of salt. We'll turn that up a little bit. And those are going to cook for about 10 minutes until they start to soften and get some nice color on them.
Any reason why you use olive oil as opposed to any different type of oil?
I just use olive oil usually when I'm sauteing, but of course you could use a little bit of butter, or if you had canola or grape oil, or a lot of people are cooking with coconut oil these days, that would be fine too.
Okay.
Good question. Okay, so we're going to put together our crust in our food processor. I'm going to start with 1½ cups of regular all-purpose flour, and we're going to season it up a little bit with a half a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of dried oregano, and a teaspoon of dried mustard. And I'm just going to pulse this a couple times, get that mixed up real good, and then we're going to add 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter. I just cut it into cubes like this, and it's cold. It's not at room temp. When you're making cookies or something like that, you use softened butter, but when you're making a crust, you use cold, and that's going to help it be flaky for you. And also, I'm going to use 3 ounces of cream cheese that I also cubed up.
Now, do you cut them smaller into cubes because it makes them easier to blend that way? Okay.
Yes, that's exactly why. Now, we're just going to pulse this until it's going to look like coursemeal, and all those little pieces of butter and cream cheese are going to just get a little bit smaller. And that didn't take too long at all.
No, not at all.
So you can see it's just kind of like mealy like that.
Yeah.
Now, to make it come together, we're going to add some water. So while it's running, you're going to add 3 tablespoons of cold water.
Okay.
And it's going to come together in a ball. And depending on the weather and everything outside, you may need a little more, but 3 should do it like that.
Wow.
And then that is all ready to go, and we're just going to press it down in this pie plate.
Okay.
This is a 9-inch pie plate, and I just sprayed it with non-stick cooking spray. Would you mind giving those a stir for me, please?
Not at all.
And so all we're going to do is just press this down in here, and it's a little bit like a biscuit dough, really.
Yeah, it does look a little biscuit-like, for sure.
It does. And it's easy just to press down in here, and once we get it all laid out, I have the oven going at 350, and we're going to bake it for about 20 minutes and get it nice and brown. So as you can see, it's just kind of thick, so just peel it off. And those onions, will finish cooking those, and during the break, I'm going to salt our tomatoes. I'm going to lay them out on that baking sheet that I've lined with paper towels. I'm going to sprinkle some salt on there to draw the water out, and that'll take about 10 minutes to do. So
sounds like a plan.
Finish that.
Yeah, so that's good. So you can follow along with this recipe on our website, Studio 10 tab on fox10tv.com. More in the kitchen with Lucy Greer, but we're going to go today doing something a little bit different, from food to more food. Cherish.
This morning on Studio 10, we have Lucy Greer with us as well from Greer's Market and Catering, making a tomato pie with cream cheese crust. Sounds great. Tomatoes, summer, this all sounds wonderful. Now, earlier you made the crust. The crust is in the oven baking, so now we're going to make the filling?
Yes, we made the crust. We mixed that together in our food processor with some flour, oregano, dry mustard, and some salt for our dry ingredients. And then we put in 6 tablespoons of cold unsalted butter, 3 ounces of cream cheese, which is, you know, why we call it a cream cheese crust, and just brought it together with a little bit of water. Patted it in our pie crust, and now it's baking, and that's going to take about 20 minutes. We just want to brown it up before we put everything else in there.
Yeah, I bet that crust would be good with a lot of different different things.
Yes,
Yum.
it would. And that's a good point. You could just kind of use it as a base, and if you wanted to mix it up with something else, you could do that.
All right, but today, again, we're doing some tomato filling.
Yes.
So what do we need for this filling?
We start with a cup of mayo, and we are going to add a cup of shredded Parmesan cheese. Add a half a teaspoon of dried oregano, some celery seed, and some basil. This is just basil that I got out of our produce departments, so I didn't have to chop it up. But a lot of people are growing fresh basil, and you can get the leaves also in the stores. But this just makes it easier on us.
Love these little tubes. And you use them a lot cooking here on Studio 10. Lucy cooks every Wednesday, and you have different tubes of different herbs. It's like, seems like every time.
I know. I like to use fresh herbs, but sometimes when you buy them, you can't use them all at one time. So this allows you to keep it in the refrigerator. It keeps for a long time, and you can just squeeze out as much as you need at any time.
Good deal. I like it.
So what we're going to do when we pull that crust out of the oven is we're going to layer up the tomatoes and the onions that we cooked over there. That was our Vidalia onion that we just sliced thinly, and I just sauteed it in a little bit of olive oil with a little bit of sugar and some salt, and just got some color on those. And the reason that we put the sugar in there, it was just a half a teaspoon, is it'll help with the caramelization process, and also with all these tomatoes, that acid, that sugar will kind of balance it out a little bit.
And you cook these on medium heat, right?
Yep, I cooked that on medium heat.
Okay.
That was about 10 minutes. And I'll show everybody real quick what we're going to do with those tomatoes. I'm just going to reach over you real quick.
Sure.
I sliced these tomatoes. It's about 4 tomatoes, just kind of thinly, as you can see. And you're going to lay them out on paper towels like this. When I sliced them, I kind of took the seeds out, as many as I could, because when you put it in your pie, those seeds hold a lot of water, and when the heat of the oven gets to it, it's going to make it, you know, soggy a little bit. So
I think that's the part that a lot of folks, if you don't like tomatoes, maybe that's why. I made a dish the other night, and I did exactly what you did, Lucy, and took the inside, the guts, as I call it, the slimy part that kind of makes your bread wet and soggy.
Yes.
Take that out, and tomatoes really are tasty.
They really are. They're so pretty this time of year. Of course, I got these out of our produce department at the store, and if you're growing your own tomatoes, when you're growing your own tomatoes, kind of a lot of them come out at one time. It's like, what do I do with it? So this is a good thing to make. So I salted them, and this is going to draw even more moisture out of the tomatoes. So we're going to let it sit with the salt on it for about 10 minutes, and then you'll see they'll be even more wet, and then we'll pat them dry before we put them in our crust.
Okay.
So this is kind of a step that you want to take.
And one more thing that we want to mention before we get out of the kitchen here while Lucy's drying the tomatoes, you guys are having a re-grand opening for one of your stores.
Yes, we are. Unfortunately, our store, our Greer's Cash Saver on Spring Hill Avenue at 5 Points, caught fire on the 20th. So we, with the help of the fire department and everybody, have been trying to get the store back open as fast as possible. So we are opening on Monday, the 28th, and we will have lots of grand reopening specials, so it should be a good time. So
I know you guys are happy about that. Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, this recipe is on our website. As always, want to make sure that you guys can make this at home. We're making it easy. Fox10tv.com on our Studio 10 page. We're going to let these dry, let that crust finish, and then we'll finish this up.
Welcome back into the kitchen. We are with Lucy from Greer's Market and Catering. Tomato pie today.
Yes, like you said earlier, very southern dish. We made our crust and just pulled it out of the oven. We mixed that up in the food processor, and we made the cream cheese crust. So we used butter and cream cheese.
Looks very biscuit-like.
Yeah, it is kind of like a biscuit. It's a little bit thick, and so we put it in there and browned it up. It took about 20 minutes. And also we have 1 Vidalia onion that we just sauteed and put a little color on that. We mixed up our topping that was our mayonnaise and our Parmesan cheese and a couple other seasonings. And we also got our tomatoes going. We sliced those, and remember, we took the seeds out, and also I put a little salt on them and let them sit for 10 minutes to draw a little bit more of the moisture out. As you know, tomatoes are full of water, and so you want to get some of that water out before you put it in your pie, or else you'll have a soupy mess.
Do you consider a tomato a fruit or a vegetable?
Isn't it a fruit?
Because of the seeds?
Because of the seeds?
Technically,
I
yeah.
think.
But I think most people thought it was a vegetable for a long time until someone said that.
Either way, they're good. Okay, so we got our
Moving on.
crust out of the oven, and we're going to put about a cup, 3/4 to a cup of the same cheese that we're going to use in our topping down, and then we're just going to start layering it up. We're going to put our tomatoes down first, and then our onions. It's going to take about 2 layers. And if you're not an onion person, of course, you don't have to do that, but it really adds something nice. The sugar that we put on there, a little bit of sugar, is going to balance out the acidity of the tomatoes and really going to be delish. And this is great for lunch or brunch. If you are a bacon person, you could definitely cook some bacon and put that in there. And this would be great for any meal. Just put a side salad and you'll have a really great dish.
Hey, I was at Greer's on Friday.
Where are you? Which one? In Fairhope again?
Nope.
Which one?
Dolphin Island.
Oh,
Was down there for the deep sea fishing rodeo. Stopped on in.
Good. Well,
Yep.
thank you. Did you get everything you need?
Obviously, I got everything I needed. I did not get ingredients for a tomato pie, though.
You did not, but you like it.
I do
So
like
next
tomato
time you
pie.
go, you can get ingredients. Okay, so now we just take our topping and we're going to spread it out, and this is going to go back in the oven for 30 minutes. It's going to be nice and browned up like that, and you can eat it hot or warm or at room temp. So,
All right, well,
which
I
way.
wanted to try some of the one you already made, but we didn't have a fork, so I'll just use this spatula as my utensil.
whatever gets the job done. Are you a fan?
That's some really good tomato pie.
Good, good, good. It is National Hot Dog Day, but tomorrow everybody can make tomato pie.
It's delicious.
Oh, good, good. Joe's not from the South, but he's taken on all
That's
of
right.
the Southern things.
100%. Recipe is online. Go visit Greer's. We'll be right back. More Studio 10. I recommend using a fork. Spatula doesn't work, though.